of those sessions very easily within the scheduling program, which is great. But in doing so, we actually found that there was a significant decrease in the number of panels that were actually being featured. I'm also seeing some trends in terms of topics. Last year, we had a number of panels around trans identity, trans experience, how we can actually, make trans inclusive workplaces. Now we're not seeing any of those types of sessions. We're still seeing discussions about surviving. We're still not yet back into the whole let's thrive, let's figure out, how can we get queer people in rooms and advance medicine, AI, technology, creator economy.
There's that dichotomy of I'm glad we're having the conversation, but I can't believe this is still the conversation. The opportunity is for LGBTQ people to see that disparity and start putting forth more sessions.
If you look at the summer with Bud Light is a great example, everybody knows what that is, with the consumer backlash and the behavior of those brands not holding the line, they create insecurities with everybody else. It's permeating through everything, not just South by Southwest programming, but in general how people are approaching even Pride in June. At this time, in this moment, they're thinking it's not worth it to be loud, they can be quiet and support, or do nothing and continue the status quo of how they've been behaving until it feels like a safer environment to show up and a more funded environment to show up. And those are the things that are all kind of compounding on each other to make this really uncomfortable moment in culture and in marketing.
Matter of, we're in a political environment right now. This is a voting year. We're in the state of Texas, so last year was pretty difficult, especially for those of us who are parents of transgender kids. SB 14 was passed. We're seeing a lot of animosity towards that, group of people. We saw a huge attack on the drag community as well. So I think there's a number of things that are happening in the political space that's making it so that people are taking a step back a little bit in terms of programming. But obviously that's when we would want them to actually lean in a lot more. So
things are quiet right now. It is not hate that is the main enemy. It is uncertainty in our allies that causes stagnance.
It's a sign, frankly, of the economic, political, and social environment. I think especially in Texas and places like Florida, but I think as a country overall, people feel like people are regressing on DE&I overall, and anti-LGBTQ legislation is, a political party is running on it, right? So it's making all of the headlines, and it feels like times are like we've stepped back a little bit. Part of the challenges we saw with a lot of the campaigns last year was that people retracted their statements based on the small minority and loud minority that they got on social.
Our community is hurting right now. I think show up now. This is a time where we're actually in need. Not when we're trending, not when we're fun, not when we're being celebrated, but when we need help. That matters. So if you come to the table and you show up for this community, they're going to be loyal to you. Public is always better because it has amplification. It's the one-to-many moment, not to one-to-one moment. So we want to see more of that, but if you are doing infrastructural change, if you want to stay quiet as a brand, I understand why, because again, we're in this culture right now of toxicity and quick blaming and cancellation. This is the time where you can't do anything for any marginalized community without an action plan in terms of backlash. You just can't. Any kind of allyship is good allyship, full stop. So you show up for us, thank you. Whether it's internal or external, it doesn't matter. You don't need to make a campaign about it. Sometimes when you do that, it feels performative. Do something good for the community, change the community to lasting effort. That is just as powerful as running a pride campaign, if not more.
I would like to hope that they are not just hibernating, that they are rebuilding quietly and that they are finding out policies. We're not seeing as many of the campaigns, but our conversations aren't stopping. We definitely have some amazing partners who have never once wanted to do anything public. They have said, we want to actually have conversations about why we have discomfort about this. That's huge, right?
I want to see brands who are willing to feature families that look like mine. Same-sex parents with transgender kids who are happy, who are thriving, who are excited about life, who have futures and plans.
Our industry could use a little bit more bravery, if I'm being honest, but I think the risk is real, and I think just like crisis planning and risk assessment 101, how a company needs to behave is specific, right? There's no like one size fits all approach, but I do think there is this misconception that doing nothing is the best thing right now in this time, and I think that brands need to understand that there's risk with being inactive as well as making a statement or taking action.
If we're not seeing as much representation in brands, what we are seeing is a lot more representation in film. And I think that's going to be the way for brands to then find easier ways back in to be able to support us despite all of the political stuff that's happening.